Hello, Hana family. Welcome back to another episode full of incredible stories. Story 1. Fear. When I was a child, I was stricken with an irrational fear. Anytime I went outside at night, I had to walk straight into the house without looking back, because if I looked back, someone would be following me. One day after dinner, I went out to the car to get my book bag. I was continuing my ritual of walking straight inside without looking back. Adrenaline pumping, anxiety going through the roof, and I just stopped. And I said to myself, this is stupid. I made myself look back. And when I looked back, I saw what appeared to be someone crouched down behind my mom's car, peeking their head around. They were just staring at me and smiling. It appeared to be a woman in her mid-30s with short, curly blonde hair. We made eye contact for a second, and then she ducked back behind the car where I couldn't see her. I stood frozen for a second and then ran back inside. I told my mom, and she went out and checked, but there was no one there. My mom didn't exactly not believe me, but she didn't seem very concerned either. Story 2. Shadows. I lived in a haunted apartment. It was 2 rooms, but one of the rooms was locked. I didn't have a key, so I only had one small room as a kitchen, dining room, and bedroom, and a screened-in porch. There were 2 especially freaky events that happened. One night, my girlfriend slept over. She woke up in the middle of the night and said she saw the bathroom door open and a shadowy figure standing in the bathroom, just staring at her. The bathroom was right across from the locked room. Another time, I was jerked awake by the fire alarm going off. It was just blaring. When I got up to go unplug it, the alarm stopped. No other alarm in the building was going off. I could hear tapping, steady tapping, like someone tapping a spoon on a counter. This would go on every couple minutes for hours on end, oftentimes in the middle of the night. The apartment across the hall from me had 3 tenants within a year. I assumed because it was just as or more haunted than mine. I had a unique way of coping. I named this ghost Pete, after a previous tenant's mail that I would get from time to time. I tried talking to him, basically treating him like a roommate. My girlfriend was much more freaked out by this whole situation than I was, and she basically stopped coming over after a few months. I wasn't there much anyway, and when I was, I felt that talking to Pete made the atmosphere of the whole place much more friendly. I still don't know if I quite believe in ghosts, though I find the supernatural fascinating, but that experience did push me closer into the science doesn't know everything camp. Story 3. Static Face Girl. I was still living in my childhood home. I was sneaking out late to meet some friends. I went through the back door of the house, and I turned to face the door. I could just feel somebody watching me. Naturally, I thought I was busted. I turned to look at who had caught me, and saw a totally monochrome figure. The hair was completely black, like blacker than black. The face was like static, washed over with white and gray. She was wearing a dress that was in between black and gray. No facial feature, just the silhouette of a young girl facing me. I reached for the door as fast as I could, and when I went to shut it, it closed very quickly on me. I bolted through the yard and into the street. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. I stayed at my friend's house that night. Soon after this happened, I was up late with my mom, watching a movie. My dad had just passed away. We finished our movie, said our goodnights, and turned everything off. The TV, the stereo receiver, the DVD player, all with their own remotes. After a short amount of time in bed, I'm jarred awake by the sound of static, with the speakers cranked up and the TV on with no input. My mom and I meet in the hallway, surprised to see that we had both been woken up to an empty house. Years later, when I was 23 and had graduated from college, I finally told my family about my first experience. Before I'm able to finish describing the ghost, my mom finishes it for me, telling me that her and her best friend used to see the little girl in our backyard playing. She said that she thought the girl looked like she was maybe 12. Our neighbor, who was the original owner of the house, shared a story with us about a family that originally built the house. Their daughter had passed away when she was about 12 years old from leukemia. Story 4. The Trail Run. I was running the trails at the Nathan Hale homestead. Nathan Hale was a Revolutionary War hero. I could not find a map with any trails on it anywhere online, and there didn't seem to be any signage at the place. Just a bunch of random mountain bike trails in the woods. I was only going to run 4 miles, so I estimated that it would take me about 30 minutes. I used my watch to keep myself on track. I ran the trails for a while, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. It was 9 on a Monday morning, and the only sounds were the distant hums of Route 31, birds chirping, and the occasional squirrel or deer scampering off whenever I came near. The trails seemed to wind around a lot. If not for my better-than-average directional skills, I may have easily gotten lost. About 20 minutes in, I saw something strange, about 50 meters off. A finely polished, light-colored wooden coffin. I was a little weirded out, to say the least. I waited until I got closer for a better look. I rounded a corner where several old tree stumps blocked my view, only to find out that the coffin had disappeared. Where it should have been was a clump of ferns. How odd. I turned around shortly thereafter and started my way back to the car. I was maybe a half mile out when I heard a very distinctive knocking on a nearby tree, to the rhythm of shave and a haircut, except there were no 2 bits part. I was a little spooked, but chalked it up to a woodpecker or something. However, not 30 seconds later, on a completely different tree, somewhere up ahead, I hear the same rhythm tapped out again. I picked up my pace. The trail widened a little bit, and I could see the entrance to the parking lot where my car was. And there it was again, on a tree seemingly right next to me, that same rhythm being tapped out. I truly started freaking out. I picked up my speed and started booking it back to the lot. As I was nearing the opening, everything seemed to slow down. It felt like the temperature dropped 20 degrees, and the birds stopped singing. My simple Timex watch started to malfunction, making all kinds of beeping noises, the numbers glitching on the screen. The beat sounded impossibly loud this time, as if it was being hacked into every tree. An overwhelming sense of dread washed over me. I burst into the parking lot, and everything went back to normal. The temperature was back in the mid-70s, and the birds were chirping, and I looked at my watch only to discover it had gone completely blank. It was flashing 12 o'clock, January 1st. My watch had completely reset itself. It had never done this before. I got in my car. I started the engine, and the clock radio display read 12 o'clock noon. That couldn't be right. It should have only been 9:30 or 9:45 at the latest. I threw her in reverse and started to back up, to where I could clearly make my way out to the main road. However, I was about to throw my car into drive. As it sat there, I heard a sharp rapping sound on the back window, like someone hitting it with their knuckles. 2 distinct raps. There was no one else in that parking lot. No cars. It was empty. I didn't dare look back. I just hightailed it straight to my grandmother's house. I have no idea what could have caused this series of events, and I cannot explain it to this day. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you did, give me a thumbs up, hit the like button, and leave me a comment. I really do appreciate it. Bye!